because it's not blame. See, like, that accountability within this conversation gets really sensitive.
Yeah, it does.
Because we're not saying that because your people did something, you owe me something. No, it's like, no.
Yeah, no, that's not what we're saying. Right.
As human beings, because we care about the human condition improving, it is our responsibility as a whole, not just you guys as white folks, or not you as Irish folks, not you as Italian folks, not you as just as people. How can we get to the place where it is no longer tolerable for people to suffer that kind of injustice? In what ways can we mobilize, and in what ways can we actually, in our individual and in our collective lives, start to make concrete steps? But I think without framing the conversation properly, and without actually having the conversation, communication in the first place is like the first step to even getting clarity on where we're at. Because folks who don't have to experience these disparities, and folks who live with a degree of privilege, really just, they don't get exposed to what it actually means to be excluded. I have a friend who moved over to Asia, moved into a place in Japan, and was just like, they walked into a room, everyone's speaking a language they don't really know well, and they're laughing at jokes that just even knowing the language, the cultural context is so different that even the jokes, they don't get why people are laughing. And so when they came into this conversation, they said, Oak, for the first time I think I understood what it's like to be from a different culture walking into a gathering of like all white people. Because like there's just this cultural divide that isn't like insurmountable, but it's just different. And when the definitions of etiquette and what's proper and what is acceptable, what's too loud or too soft, all those things they're tweaked. You have to kind of figure out, okay, so in this setting, this is what it needs to look like. What is the dress code? What is the terms of even engagement? What do we talk about? What don't we talk about? Because across cultural boundaries, man, those things change dramatically. Quickly. Come back to my family reunion, you get a totally different experience. And if you don't understand where they're coming from, you may feel excluded as well. And so this kind of feeling of how one can step into someone else's shoes gets a lot more complex and complicated than just knowing the stats and just knowing, the likelihood of going to prison or even economic stuff. It's really like being able to step into that role of feeling like an outsider, feeling to some degree powerless, and needing someone to be, to some extent, your champion, or at least welcoming and giving you equal ground in a cultural setting. Because I think that's ultimately what we're trying to achieve with overall conversation on race. It's just equal ground. And I think that this conversation is even more deep if we bring it back to gender. But we'll have to. But that's in itself. That to me, I think that's in some ways a prerequisite. But